Welcome to the Moments That Matter podcast. I'm your host, Laura Escamilla, and joining me again is my friend Kerrin. She's going to give us a recap on how her move went with her daughter, and we're going to hear all about what's happening. So how are you feeling?
I'm doing good. It's been, I think, about 3 weeks.
3 weeks, 4 days.
3 weeks. I was going to say, how nonchalantly can I
Yeah.
say how long it's been? 3 weeks since we dropped Sailor off. And we are making our way. We're figuring it out. It still feels kind of new,
Mm-hmm.
but
Kind of
it,
feels like she's away at camp or something, right?
yes. And we're still finding a new normal and a new routine. Feels super empty at times, just having that family member, part of the gang not there. So we're finding our way.
Talk to me about leading up to her leaving. We talked to you probably 2 to 3 weeks before you took her, right before your orientation, before you actually dropped her off. And what was that like? Did you have any final family dinner or anything special before she left that you got emotional?
I need to think back now, but we did have a family. I say family. We actually don't have a whole lot of family in the area, but the family we've created
Right?
here.
Your
We had,
chosen family? Yeah.
yes, they're the best kind sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But we had them come over for a final dinner, and our faith is super important to us. We had a time of prayer over her and just made sure that she knew how loved she was so that hopefully she wasn't going to run off and never want to come back. No, but we did try to celebrate just the moment and make her feel like we were excited, even though inside, after she would go to bed or she would take off to see a friend, because as much as we wanted to see her in those last moments, I feel like she also wanted to say her goodbyes to a lot of
Her
her
friends, yes.
girlfriends that were heading off as well, or maybe
Right.
juniors who were being left behind.
And you kind of have to rein it all, those feelings in.
Yes, so I was excited, tried to be excited for her to go do those things, but I was like, but I want those moments, every one of them. I
Right.
need those moments. But after she would leave, we would take some time to really uh, have our emotions where
Yeah.
she wasn't there.
For sure.
So
So talk about packing. We talked a lot about preparing and how did that feel? Was it
I think,
organized?
yeah,
Organized chaos?
I tried to be organized, and our conversation helped me so much learning, oh, these are some things that I need to be thinking of, or just searching online, hearing other parents, what they thought went well for packing. And so I tried to be prepared and organized. My daughter tends to be a little bit of a procrastinator, and to her credit, she was wanting to see her friends. So
Mm-hmm.
as much as she was ready to go, she was, I think, 1 foot in
1 foot out.
transition and 1 foot out. So it came down to that last week, and we finally had everything set aside. Oh, here's this and here's that you can use to pack. And finally, she started getting it together and had a friend come over. And I thought that was sweet. They kind of did it together. So that, I think, was fun. And I tried to stay out of the packing. I think I would have been more emotional had I been putting stuff in
Right.
suitcases.
Packing it in for her.
But
Speaking of that, Skylar moved and both the kids moved. And that was a big thing for me. That first year was a dorm and the stuff that they took was a reasonable amount. It didn't feel overwhelming.
Yes.
But Lucas has this little Build-A-Bear that
Yes.
he's had since he was a little kid. And not a big deal here in the room. But when he moved this second year into a house, I think he felt that was more permanent and he took it with him. And when I unpacked it, even in his second year, I got a little like, why is this here? Why did he bring it here?
Yeah.
And Skylar, too, she has a little bear that we would call Boo Boo Bear. When she was little, when she'd get hurt, I would give it to her to kind of calm her down. And after she graduated from college and got a grown-up apartment, she's like, I'm going to take Boo Boo Bear with me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, but that needs to stay here. This is your room.
Yeah.
This is your home. The little things get a little emotional when they do take them, when they do feel comfortable enough to like, this is it. This is where I'm going to be.
The break.
Yeah. And I wasn't prepared for it to be for Lucas for his second year of college because Skylar wasn't until she graduated.
Because is he still in a dorm, or he's
in
in
a
apartment?
house, in a house, yeah. And he plans to be there for a few years. So I guess he felt this is
Time.
where it needs to be. But yeah,
Yeah.
I can see how that's emotional.
Yeah, she has a pink blanket, a big pink blanket like you cuddle up in, and has had it since almost birth. And she took that with her. Although she left her little stuffed animal named Sparky,
Yeah.
a little dog that stayed on her bed.
Okay,
So
that's a
she
good
took
side.
one and left one.
Yeah. And how did move-in go? Just in general at the school?
I will have to say the move-in process there, they roll the red carpet out. I was
Mhm.
not aware how much they did for freshmen. They
Right.
roll out the red carpet, yes.
Mhm.
And I was thoroughly impressed. I mean, they had it organized and efficient and down to every T crossed and every I dotted. So we pulled up, got in the line for her dorm at a specific time. And when we pulled up, they had other
Volunteers, yeah.
volunteers,
Mhm.
campus leaders of some sort there with the little rolly cart.
Yeah.
We weren't supposed to do anything, and they just loaded everything up and took it to her room, and
Mhm.
then we were able to meet them there and start the unpacking.
Yeah, that was our experience too. A first move-in, it was amazing.
I couldn't
Just
believe
like
it.
they took everything. We just went and parked the car, and when we got to her room, everything was in the room.
And I
And
thought it was really great concept. They said it's already stressful enough.
mhm.
They already could see the emotion in all the
Right.
parents and for the kids too. And they said we don't want you to be stressing over this part.
Right.
Let
Yeah.
enjoy this process.
Just a heads up, it doesn't happen again in the years that happen
I think
after.
I heard that,
Yeah,
which
after
makes
that,
sense.
you're on your own. It's that freshman, that nervousness,
Yeah.
that first time
Yeah.
that they try to help with, and it's great. It's a great experience. I was at Baylor, and I'm glad
Mhm.
you had that
Yeah.
experience too.
The president and his wife came through, spoke to everyone. They just went room to room down the
Mm,
dorm,
and
shaking
welcomed
hands and
everybody. Mhm.
welcoming. Yeah. So it was really a great experience.
Good, and how is the roommate?
Very good.
Good.
She is a great roommate. They met kind of through the social media links that
The
the
school
school had
provides? Mhm.
provided. And so they knew they had similar interests and
Mhm.
backgrounds. So that has worked. The only thing that she's getting used to is her roommate has decided to be going home every weekend.
Oh, she lives
So for
nearby. Mhm.
well, like 2 hours.
Mhm.
So she has been adjusting. I think originally she felt like she would be there all the time and they
Mhm.
would be their time on the weekends to kinda go and do
Hang
and
out
hang
and
out. And really quickly she realized, "Okay, I'm gonna have to make some other friends that" I mean, she really does like her roommate, and it's kind of nice because the roommate is there all week, and it's a quiet, safe space to go because they do connect.
mhm.
But then when she's gone on the weekend, it's hard because you have to establish a whole 'nother group of friends almost for her.
Right.
So she's making her way in that
I can see that.
aspect.
One side, you enjoy the space to yourself because,
Yes.
yeah, you have somebody with you all the time, but then you're used to having somebody with you, and then
Yeah.
it's too quiet.
And right
And
away, it was Labor Day weekend, which was a 4-day
mhm.
weekend, and she's too far to come home.
Right.
So that was extra time. She was really fresh at not
Cool.
super close friendships and just trying to figure out
Mhm.
what am I going to fill my time with.
Has she gone to a game or done any of that
They just
stuff?
had their first home football game, so they had all kinds of tailgating and
Mm.
events leading up to that. So she did that. She was a soccer player, so she's been to several soccer
Oh,
games. She
good.
likes to go watch the girls play soccer. I think she's been to volleyball. The
Oh,
freshman orientation that first week was packed with events,
right.
and we encouraged her, and she said she did to
That's
all of them. She went to all the events that she could and hopefully started making connections. That
so,
was the goal.
the big question, did you leave a note? What did you do?
I
Okay.
did. See, now you're gonna make me cry.
Aw. You don't have to tell me what's in the
No,
note,
no,
but you
no.
did.
I did. I'm trying to think now. I wrote a card to her just to give her encouragement. Really, I didn't want it to be something that had to tell her everything because I knew she would call me.
Mhm.
But I wanted her to know how much I believed in her
Mhm.
and how proud I was of what she had accomplished and how she had gotten to this point. And I made her favorite cookies and
Aw.
I just left them on the bed. She had found those earlier and I was like, man. and
The
but
surprise is
it's such a
gone.
small little room. I was like, where am I supposed to stick? She was like, did you make me cookies? I was like, yes, those are supposed to be for when you leave.
Mhm.
I stuck a picture of our family in there
Mhm.
because she had packed a couple of things, but she didn't have a whole lot framed. And she even said the weekend as we were moving stuff, and she's like, "Oh, I don't have a family picture." Oh, she's gonna like when
Oh,
she reads
great,
her
yeah.
card. Yeah, and I put a picture. It's a family joke between us that when she went to kindergarten for the first time, I stood there taking 1,000 pictures, and
Mhm.
there's a picture of her making this face of like, "Will you leave? Why are you
Mhm.
still here?" "I'm fine, mom." And
Right.
so I printed that picture and I stuck it in there with her, and I said, "I know you're gonna do just fine."
Oh,
And, you know,
that's sweet.
so she has that. And I know that her sister wrote her a
A
note
note.
and stuck on there, and I saw that. So she had not just my note, but she had
Oh, that's
family
wonderful.
notes too.
Did you let her take a car?
I did let her take the car. I think for my sanity,
Right.
she probably thinks it's just for hers, but yeah, I felt much better
Right.
when it came down to it, not having to worry. And now, especially if her roommate's not there on the
Right.
weekends, and she really hasn't had to drive too much.
Mhm.
I think it's more just the
Peace of mind.
peace of mind
Mhm.
having it there. It sits in the parking lot most of the week. In fact, I sent her a sunshade because it's just baking
Yeah.
in the sun,
Not moving. Yeah.
moving. I think she's used a half a tank of gas.
Right. Right.
She's
And
still learning her way,
And
but
that was our experience too. We got Skylar her car after high school graduation.
mhm.
Between her 4 years in college, if she put like 2,000 miles on
Yeah,
it for 4 years was a lot because just to drive home
that's about it.
and that
And
was
she
it.
seems to bum a ride. I think she probably takes people sometimes herself, but they kind of all just want to go together or pile in.
Yeah.
And most things are happening on campus.
So
It's
just
a
walk
small
there.
town, so
Mhm.
there's not a lot to do
Mhm. Which is
unless
our
you're
experience too. Yeah.
on campus.
Just go get something to eat
Yeah.
maybe, but
Mhm. But I
most of
do
the
feel
things
good.
are
How I'm glad we decided to just bite
there.
the bullet and let her take it.
Yeah, just in case.
Mhm.
That's good. And how long did you stay?
I took your advice. I canceled the hotel room. She had a move-in on a Friday. We had to come up on a Thursday.
Mhm.
I was gonna stay through Sunday because I thought, "Well, let's just have a family weekend." And I'm laughing at myself now because she was ready for us to go really Friday evening probably, but we couldn't make it home. And so we spent Friday night, and she decided, she was like, "Well, could we eat breakfast together?" I said, "That's great. Let's
Mhm.
go eat breakfast." And she had a couple little things she wanted to go to Walmart for, and we did that, and then, I mean,
Yeah.
she had the look in her eye
It's
of
like the picture.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't cry. I got a little bit teary-eyed. She hugged her dad, and that was a big, long hug, and then we said goodbye. So that was good. Not goodbye, see you later.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was just the right amount of time.
It was, and I was so thankful for our chat earlier because I had planned to be there a long time.
Right. If anything came up,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I get the reasoning, but it just doesn't work that way for
Yeah,
them. For
she
them.
was ready,
Yeah.
and I could tell, so that was good that we took off.
And your son and daughter, you said your daughter wrote a note, but how are they feeling?
I think they're doing okay. My son, he's not as emotional,
Mhm.
but he misses her. He was the one that he would come in her room at night and hang out and chat and check on her, and
Mhm.
he always had to get a good night hug or
Mhm.
something, and so I think he misses that, and she was kind of a voice of reason for him, especially now with girls or anything, she would be the one to tell him,
The older sister, the big
"Yeah,
sister.
this is what
Mhm.
they're thinking," or "This is what I would want," or "I would do," and so
Well, hopefully they're still texting or,
and they
that
are.
kind of thing.
But her sister, my daughter, she's struggling a little more just because that was her person, her big sister. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's really
It's hard for her. Yeah. That's hard for me to picture because our kids are 5 years apart. So there was a little more distance. But yeah, your kids are really close in age. So
and she's
and they were in
she's
sports
handling it.
together
Yeah,
and everything.
they
Yeah.
did everything together. And it's funny because the younger are twins, so
Hmm.
they've always been close, and forever I would have said they were the 2 closer ones, but then as they got into high school and they were on sports teams together and just teenage life, you start to want your sister there, and so she's doing good, she really is, and they talk more probably than my son and daughter do, my older and younger. Yeah,
Hmm.
they talk more,
But you can tell
but
it.
you can tell. And she's had other things going on in her world too, like her best friend since kindergarten moved away. So things like that is like it's just right now I feel like it's a
Hmm.
season for her, but she's doing good.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a parents weekend coming up, so I keep telling her you get a countdown going and it won't be long. And there's
Yeah.
FaceTime. So they do that.
That's good. So you're going to go up soon.
Yeah.
Good.
Like what? 6 weeks in? They have a family weekend and we plan to go up, and not overstay, but,
Right. And
uh
I'm never gonna say it gets easier because I don't think it does at any age. Like I mentioned, Lucas is in his 2nd year.
yeah,
We haven't seen him since the end of July, and so here we are in September, but this past weekend was our daughter's birthday, so we went to San Antonio to have dinner with her, and he drove in to San Antonio from Waco to have dinner also, and he
nice.
sat next to me, but it was literally just dinner, and he
Mhm.
left. His friends dropped him off at dinner, and then they picked him up at the end of dinner. I gave him a hug, and Isaac was like, "Let me walk you out," and I couldn't walk him out because I get
It's
emotional still
mhm,
because I hadn't seen him in over a month.
but
So we
they're
just had
okay.
dinner, and he was fine, like, "Okay, see you later, mom," and a hug, and Isaac's like, "Let me walk you out to make sure that
Yeah,
he's okay," but I couldn't. I mean, I just couldn't because I knew I would get teary-eyed. And not that I cry or bawl, but I do feel
mhm,
emotional, and I
I'm
don't want him
sure.
to feel that I'm emotional.
That is the hardest part. I'm trying to really keep a rein
Right.
in my emotions on
For
for their sake.
their sake, yeah, because I would probably cry every encounter and everything.
Oh, I totally understand because when I did walk him out at the door, he was running off. He's like, "Okay, bye, dad. Bye, bye." We said bye inside. I'll see you later. And I saw his truck coming up because his friends had his truck, and I felt the same way. And I said, "Well, let me go over to the truck and say hello to your friends
Yeah,
and shake their
just for
hand."
an extra minute.
Mhm.
Right. So I walked them all the way over there, and they know me,
Yeah.
so they greeted me, and I said hello. But they're in a point in their lives where I guess we have to figure out that we have to share them with the rest of the world.
And I'm trying to remember that because I did go away to college, and I went away at a time when we didn't have cell phones. Trying to remember, I probably treated my mom and dad just like that.
Right.
Just,
Mhm.
"See ya, why are you still here?"
Yeah, and even the experiences, the weekends, he left us and his friends went with him because he has other friends at school in San Antonio, so he figured since I'm gonna go see my friends in San Antonio, so he left us and went to hang out with them
He was killing 2
where
birds with 1 stone.
right, but for me, like you mentioned earlier, I would have preferred he spend the evening with us, but that was not his intention. His intention is like, "Let me bring my friends, get everybody together, we're gonna go hang out," and we're tracking him, and we were still there Saturday, and I text him Saturday afternoon, a little bit before we're gonna go have lunch, like, "How's it going?" Like, "Oh, we're headed to the game," and he
I
doesn't even go to
find
that school, but I'm thinking, "Well, we're here for lunch," and
Yes. I
men
find myself doing that, trying to hint a
yeah,
little bit because I try not to just call, and I try to have a reason I have to call,
yes,
so I'm not just like, "I miss you,"
right.
all the time, but
Mhm.
usually if I'm texting her or something, it's because I'm missing her and I just wanna hear
Just a little bit.
I'm missing those moments. I feel
Mhm,
like I was so used to just knowing everything that's happening in her
mhm.
day, and not that I don't think she's doing it the right way or I don't need to parent her, I just miss
Just
her.
having the conversation.
Yeah, so
Mhm. Yeah.
I find myself being like, what do I need to ask
What
her?"
could I ask? What could I tell her? And I feel the same. Text I can do easily, but for a
Mhm.
phone call,
Yeah,
a reason for a
like,
phone
"Why do I need
call,
to call you?"
I just wanna hear your voice.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I get it, like, my life is the same, you get busy, you don't have time to make a phone call all the time, so I'm trying to remember
Mhm,
that, but then I find maybe it's starting to be a routine on a Saturday morning or whatever, she will FaceTime me, and
mhm.
that just is, like,
Amazing,
life-giving, it
yes.
feels so good.
Yeah, and Skylar's really good. At least once a week, she'll FaceTime us, but
Mhm.
he's not the same, and he will call. This year also, if he has a long walk, he will call, but for me to call him, it's almost as if it's inconvenient for him to talk, like, "Yeah,
No.
what's going on? Like, what's the problem?
You
Why
need
are you calling
something?
me?" Yes,
No, I
and
feel that. I can see that. I do
yeah.
try to figure out, like, this has to be a really good reason.
Yes. No, but I totally understand that. Yeah, I feel it, and like I said, it doesn't get easier.
And it
You
got
just
less at that first day, that first week, I mean, she was calling every day, FaceTiming every
mhm.
day, and I could see her expression, so I knew she was okay. And then it was like every other day or I was like, "What's wrong? What's
Yeah.
wrong?" But it was because nothing was wrong. She
She
was
just
having a great
living
time.
life, yeah. And I think you adjust to a new normal, right, for
Mhm.
yourself,
Yes.
but you reset though every time you see them.
Good to know because
Yeah.
it's coming. I feel like
Yes.
a
You're
couple of
gonna
weeks and
see
I'm gonna see
her
her.
and you're gonna feel a little emotional all over
Mhm.
again, and then it's adjusting again, and then it gets a little longer and a little
Yes.
longer. Yeah.
Thanksgiving, I
Mhm.
think, before we see each other.
Yeah, we
So,
definitely feel that. We're gonna see him. We're going up for a game also in 2
mhm.
weeks. Then 3 weeks after that, he has fall break. And I just casually asked,
How
"Do you have plans for fall break? What's gonna happen? Are you gonna come home?" And his girlfriend lives here, so maybe he would be coming
good
home,
draw.
right? And he's like, "I don't know yet. Don't." I said, "No, I'm just checking to see if you're gonna come home." "Well, don't count on it." And I'm like, "I'm not. I'm just wanna know.
Yeah.
Just wanna see what the plans are." And of course, teenagers don't have plans that far in advance.
Yeah. I think that's been the hardest thing is learning I'm still the parent,
Mhm,
but learning to say, I've raised you to this point and now let them make the
mhm.
decisions and to be a part of their life, but not
Managing it or,
yeah,
yeah, dictating it.
managing.
Yeah.
I think she even told me, "Man, I didn't realize how much you planned for me."
Mhm.
And with her roommate going home on the weekend, she was like, "There's a lot of free time. I can
Right?
just do whatever I want to do." I think
Right,
before it was, "Hey, what are we doing tonight?" "Oh, I made plans. We're gonna go eat with this family," or, "Hey,
right.
we've got this game going on." And
This is
she
where
was
we're
like,
gonna
"Okay,
be.
I'll
Yeah.
go with you," or that we just did
Mhm.
things together. And now she's like, "Oh, I have to figure it out."
That is an interesting take from their side, how that's gonna
Mhm.
work.
Yeah.
Even something simple like make a haircut appointment. I have to call. Can you call? No, you're going to call for yourself and make an appointment. And in fact, today I saw him and I'm like, you need a haircut.
Yes.
And so he sent me a screenshot of his appointment. I'm like, oh, I'm so
Good
proud.
job.
Like he made his appointment.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get wanted to bring a TV, so we got her a little TV,
Hmm.
but she was ready for us to go, so we had it unpackaged and put up and looked all nice and pretty, but she didn't want us to wait around to get it set up and working. Well, she's still never gotten it
Oh my
working with the
goodness. Yeah.
Wi-Fi and everything. I said, "Gotta make an appointment with the IT people." I think she's been too
Nervous to make
nervous
that
or
call. Right.
not sure who to contact. I'm like, "Keep asking, just keep
Those
finding."
are the little things that they grow up
Mhm.
doing the little things. And when he's home, I still make his haircut appointments and
Yeah.
still do that here
It's so easy
locally.
to do it,
But
right?
he was home in July, like I said, and he wanted to go to dinner and make a reservation somewhere nice. And I said, okay, well, you have to call and make a reservation at least 3 or 4 days in advance. Well, can you call? No, you're the one that wants to go to dinner. You call. He's like, so what do I say? I said, you tell him I would like to make a reservation for this date and time for this many people. And he was like, okay, okay. And then I asked him, did you make the reservation? He's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, okay, well, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall just to hear
Yeah.
how that went.
Yes.
But he did it and he went and
I
he
used to be
managed it.
too shy to call the pizza people to order a pizza,
Right.
so I get that feeling, but you
Right.
grow up. You
And
by doing it, you have
d-
to just
you
do
just
it.
have to do it. And he's like, oh, I hate talking to people or talking to the phone. And like, so do I. Still, as an
Mhm.
adult, I don't enjoy
Yeah.
making appointments or calling, but you
Yeah.
just do. And I get that. So, how is she doing with classes? Everything's
She's
aside from the roommate leaving, but
yeah,
school's going
no,
well.
she seems to be doing really well. She's enjoying so far, she's taking the agricultural type things that she's interested in, so she picked well, I think. She's enjoying it, and I think when you enjoy what you're studying, it's
So much easier.
so
Yeah.
much easier. And she took a couple of dual enrollment classes here that helped get some of the hard things out of the way, so
Hmm.
she's not struggling with those now as a freshman.
Right.
She's
They're
able to
basic courses. Hmm.
So, I think she's doing really well.
How about money? You were worried about the extra money.
Yeah, fortunately, she is my saver of all the kids. Now, the next one that goes
Right. You
through, that
mentioned
might
she
be
worked and she saved up money
she
and did that.
did, she did, and she went to a job fair and put in an application at a couple of places just because I told her, "I think it'd be wise to give yourself time to figure out your schedule
Hmm.
and maybe understand the flow of things and what your professors are asking of you before you just jump in
Hmm.
and get a job, but we do think that it'd be wise to start looking and
Hmm.
hearing what's out there and available." So she decided to go to this job fair and she put in a couple applications, but she's not followed up on any of
Yeah.
it. So
Hmm.
she
Took the step, the
she
first
took
step.
she took the step and she ended up rushing for a sorority. So that I think started filling up some time,
Hmm.
but she's looking at some job options and what she wants to do because The time's coming soon. She's not blowing through money. She's much more of a saver.
Right.
And she doesn't, like I said, she doesn't leave the campus much. So she's not spending on going out to eat a whole lot. And she can eat at the cafeterias and on campus dining. But, it only lasts for so long.
Right. I think for us, we started seeing it closer to midterms
Mhm.
and that first semester. That's when it's like, I'm so
Yeah.
done with this dining hall
Yeah,
and
she's
eating
only
this.
3 weeks in.
Yeah.
So right now
But
she's
still good.
I've received a couple of pictures of food that she's like, "That's not your mashed potatoes," or
Yeah.
"That's not your whatever." But for the most part, she's like, "It's really
Yeah.
good."
Yeah. I think
So
midterms is when it started to get a little repetitive and they're like, I'm at the library. I just need to pick up something quick and it's
Mhm.
closed. That's when it kind of got easy, right? Like, let's
Right.
go eat. Let's go
The
this. Let's go buy
and
this.
the account starts to dwindle and you
Yes.
go, "Okay, maybe
Yeah.
I need to find something to refill it with." But
Yeah.
yeah, so
Good.
she's doing okay with that so far.
So
Like I
was,
said, she only used a half a tank of gas, so
yeah. Yeah. For the kids at Baylor, like all the food places, what do they call it?
The grease pit.
The grease pit. That's where all the fast food
Oh,
restaurants
yeah.
are. And
It's right
it's
across
right
the
across
street.
the street. So they
Perfect.
walk there if they wanted to, but
Yes.
that's the drive. It's not even a mile worth
Yes.
of
I
back and
think
forth.
I think her eyes are opening to how much things cost. She's done things on her own, and now she gets pizza, and you have to tip, and everyone's just like, "Ooh,
Right.
that's way more than it felt like with
And
y'all around."
delivery and yeah.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that's good.
Definitely.
It's all good. That's why I wanted her to go and experience,
And just learn. So were you fully prepared for packing or did you miss something? Any advice?
I feel like we actually did really well.
Oh,
Kind of a good medium because as much as they helped us move in, they did stress you get to move yourself out.
right.
So we tried to really take the necessities, but not be too crazy
Mm-hmm.
with I've seen some crazy dorm, but I think she will be set. She's made a Walmart run or two, but for the most part, she hasn't hardly needed anything. She's called for, I think, some school supplies
Mm-hmm.
and things like that, but those were things we didn't know ahead of time that might be needed.
Right.
But for her living every day, it was pretty
Spot on.
spot on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
but that was something I could do ahead of time, like, to keep myself occupied, and
Mm-hmm.
as she was saying bye to all her friends and having a great time, I can put myself into that, like, "Oh, we need to get her this, and we need to make sure
Yeah,
she has
that's
that."
definitely how I am. I'm a planner. Give me
Yeah.
an objective. That was
Mhm.
the goal, right? Getting them moved in
Yeah,
and that you fill your
and
time.
she is not much of a shopper, so I knew if I didn't get it, she was probably
Mm-hmm.
just gonna say, "Oh, I'll figure a way out without it," which is
Definitely.
okay too, but
Karen, coming from my technology standpoint, other than the TV situation that
yes.
it sounds like will probably get resolved,
Hopefully. Well, dad's coming for
he's going to take care of
he'll
If
everything.
wait
anything,
she'll wait
parents'
another
weekend.
2
But
weeks.
was there anything technology wise that she needed that you didn't anticipate, or were you all set right off the bat?
I
From
feel
the get
like
go.
she was pretty good. We got her a new laptop for school just because we used Chromebooks all through high
Mm-hmm.
school, and before that, I mean, she used whatever we had available at the house. We
I
had
understand.
never really
What did you
spent
get
anything.
her?
We ended up getting her a MacBook
Yeah, good
from
choice.
Costco.
Perfect.
So it was on sale. We actually got it back
Mhm.
at the beginning of last year and saw it on sale and thought it was a pretty good deal. So we had all year that we kept it hidden away and
Mhm.
Very
but
smart.
I've had a MacBook for I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, something forever, and they just last. So felt like if we spend the money and get you that, you're good for a long time if you'll take care of it and the next one
Mhm.
can be on you.
Right, for sure.
That's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
And Skylar took care of her second one.
Yeah.
And she didn't really need a second one,
Yeah.
but she wanted a second
The
one.
newer one.
The
Yeah.
newer one.
Mhm.
Well, that'll be on her.
And it was Skylar paid for her second one. We did the first one, but the second one she
Yes.
got
And I know they do need them. They do.
they live by them, yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So we wanted to make sure she was prepared.
Definitely. We're
Yeah.
going to run the car situation the exact same way. First one's on us.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes. In fact, we just paid off Skylar's car and we're
Oh.
like, we have the title and that's it. We're
You
done.
get to do the
Yeah.
rest.
And we're going to do the
Truly a
same with
blessing.
Lucas because, yeah, that first car's on us, but that's it.
Yeah, my twins are driving around in my old Suburban, so they're waiting for us to kick in on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Well, and if they go to separate schools and
Yes.
they're juniors, is that right? Yeah.
Juniors. Yes. So we're in the thick of it again,
You
it
are.
feels like.
You're right there.
But you have a little more experience
I
and a little more knowledge on what's
But
happening
no
and what's
kid
going
is the
on.
same, right?
They're not.
So
And if they go to separate schools,
that I bet they do.
mm-hmm.
I bet they do. Unless they
Yeah.
all end up following their sister, because that's
Yeah.
sometimes what
Mm.
they
Yeah,
tend to
and we
do.
didn't anticipate that Lucas was going to follow his sister, but he did.
Yeah.
She wasn't there anymore, but same spot.
But you knew
Mhm.
the
Oh, yes.
drill with that.
Oh,
Right.
yes.
So that would be okay with me.
Up until literally his senior year, right when applications were opening, we didn't anticipate him going to Baylor also. He had always talked about going to a different school. Not because he didn't want to go to the same school, but because he always had another
His
school in
own.
mind, his own plan. This was always the plan. And it wasn't until right at his senior year that he said, I'm going to apply there. And he only applied there. And that was the scary part for me. Like, nope, this is it. This is where I'm going. And I
Well,
was
it worked out
nervous. Yeah, it
perfectly.
worked out, but there was nerves. There was definitely scary there. Like, what if it doesn't work out?
Yeah.
And
Well, and I have my one girl who is already in college, and then we have always said we're saving. We want you to
go.
pursue, but my son sometimes says, I don't know, maybe technical school, mom, because he's loved his welding
Mhm.
classes and he's loved all the things like that. So sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what this kid's gonna do.
And that's okay, but you need to know going in,
I
right,
know,
what
like
to
it's
plan for.
junior year.
Right.
Let's figure
Definitely.
it out. I want to
Mhm.
know. I want to figure it all out, but
He'll
sometimes
figure it out
that's
on his
not.
own.
Sometimes it's not that easy.
It's very hard to let them.
So
Let
that
them
would be a
figure
whole
out
nother
their plan.
path
Right.
that I don't have experience with.
Right.
But
You got to follow his passion, though.
that's right.
Right. And that's the same thing like we talked about with Sailor. Like you got to
Mhm.
let them lead and you kind of just follow behind and
help
figure out
Facilitate
what needs
their
to be
little
picked up.
dream.
You know, that's
Mhm.
kind of what the job is now
Yeah.
as it evolves. Do you have any advice for parents?
Oh, I think it's too early for me to give advice, but
What advice was most impactful, do you think, of our conversations?
by far letting her lead the way, that it was time to go and not overstay, because as a mom, I just wanted to like wrap her up and make sure
Mhm.
everything was a-okay for as long as possible, but leaving sooner was better.
Mhm.
I'm so thankful I heard all this before I took the trip up there and left her, because I would have done it totally different probably.
But glad you did it the way you did.
Very glad.
Yeah.
Very glad that I canceled one
The
night of a hotel room,
Yeah.
because we would have been sitting in that hotel room all by ourselves
Yeah.
going, now
You
what?
would have. You
Yeah.
would absolutely.
Mhm. Which is what we were trying
So
to
wait,
spare
you-
you from because we did it. Because we did that.
Yeah.
We sat in the hotel.
Yeah, we
No,
sat in
in
the
silence.
hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it didn't occur to me that the school would have events planned possibly,
Mhm.
or that the other kids on the hall would be she
Wanna go
came
do something.
she said the first night that we left, she said these kids came knocking on everybody's door and they had made sweet tea down in the not in the cafeteria, in
The common area.
common
Mhm.
area, and they were all playing cards, and they were like, "Come on, have
Let's
sweet tea and
go.
play cards." And she was like, so we went and played cards, and
Mhm.
she would have missed out on things if we had said, "But don't you
Or
want to be
guilt
with
her
us?"
into it,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
And those
Oh.
little things are super important. They remember.
It
Yeah.
was a good reality check for me to hear. Like, it's about her, not about you. You need to
Right.
let her
Mhm.
go do those things.
Through
Mhm.
our own experience, and we did better the second time around,
And
you
I
know?
went home and I verified all that I learned with other people. So do you think I should cancel
Mhm.
the hotel? And they were all like, yes. You do not want to be sitting there. She's not
Right.
going to want to be with you.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay.
Right.
On
She
day
might be
one.
nervous. She might be needing her
Mhm.
mom and dad.
Mhm.
No, she didn't.
And I think there are the outliers where they have the experience of like,
Right.
yes, they had a hard time. And it's a good thing
That's
I
not
was
my
there,
daughter.
but you have to know your kid and know really, like we talked about before, they're not going to act any different than they would if they were home. Don't expect them to be different
Right.
people.
That
They're
is so
not.
true.
Yeah. So if you know she's a social person and likes to hang out with her friends, like you mentioned
Mhm.
before she left to go
For
hang out
sure,
with her
all her
friends.
friends.
That's a great
That was
indication
her
of her.
priority,
Yeah,
to
her
save
priority
the
is not
night.
to sit home and cuddle and watch movies. You
That
don't
was
know.
hard for us too. We experienced the exact same thing. And we thought we were going to have more dinners together or some time alone. But
Mhm.
Now, in fact, I said, we're having family dinner and your friends are welcome here if you
Yeah.
want them to, but
Mhm.
I need at least one night before you leave.
Right.
So
You kind of adjust. Mhm.
it was good though.
Well,
It
thank you
was a
for
good time.
sharing. I'm so glad that we
No,
got to catch up, and we were gonna keep following along because you got 2 more. We
I
gotta
know.
keep 'em going.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
It's going to
So
be interesting where they all land.
and we're gonna, in the near future, do another episode with friends on how to transition with your kids coming home from college for the holiday,
Oh, I'll
because
be
that's gonna be
listening.
different. It's very different than them being home normally.
This is going to be an essential one, I
Yes.
assume.
We're doing it together.
More lessons, yes.
Well, I appreciate your wisdom and helping.
Thank you, Kerrin. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us.